Hello, my name is Kerrioth, and today we are going to have a little chat about the Imperial Knight rumours that have been circling around for like a good couple of weeks, but the thing is, in this case, they don't seem to be going away. Quite often there'll be some sort of confirmation, there'll be some sort of leak or something like that, but instead things have just kind of hovered, and there's the odd little thing that suggests that maybe there is some truth to this stuff. So we're just going to have a little talk about what we might expect from a new Imperial Knight Codex, because we know one is on the way, and how far they're actually going to be expanded. Whether we think they're going to stick with what they have in the form of the Castellan that we saw during Adepticon, the Armiger, I forget which one it is again, and the current lot of Knights. Before we get into it though, I try and maintain a schedule on the channel of uploading like Monday to Friday at 6:30 GMT. And the last couple of weeks, there's been times where, there hasn't been a video one day, or there hasn't been a video for 2 days, stuff like that. And I just wanted to explain why that is. Essentially, I'm having some issues with my medication that I take for my depression, and it's kind of messing me up quite badly. I'm having problems with my memory and just like very heavy dissociation at times, where I just kind of phase out of everything. Like, I can't remember what I'm doing, I don't know where I am or why I'm there to begin with. I'm starting to get like quite severe paranoia at times. Like, I spent a good half an hour checking every door in the house because I thought someone had come in. They hadn't, obviously, but that didn't stop me from checking everything over and over again. And hopefully you can understand that that's putting a little bit of stress and a little bit of pressure on my head. So every now and again, I sit down to make a video, and I have to kind of go, realistically, am I in any condition to make this video in any way good, entertaining, interesting, or is it just going to be dire? And if it's going to be dire, I don't do it, because I don't want to just be making crap. So if a video is missing during the week, that is most likely why. I've just decided, okay, I'm not up to it today. I try and make up for it with extras, but sometimes that doesn't work out. I do what I can, and I will continue doing what I can and continue attempting to make a video every day. If I can't, then I can't, and that's why. So, just wanted to sort of let you know what was going on and why there is content missing every now and again. Okay, so let's talk about the Knight, because there is a codex on the way at some point, and I actually really like the sound of the rumours that have been floating around, whether or not they're true, and I have to admit, some of it seems not a little bit far-fetched, but I think a bit hopeful, a bit sort of wishful thinking. So, we already know that there's the Castellan, that ridiculous knight with the extra guns all over it, with the double power pack on the back, well, double power plans on the back. We know about the Armigers because you can already get those, along with Forge Bane, and there's been a couple of things that suggest they won't be the only variants, including the fact that there was a picture floating around, I'll see if I can find it, where someone got their Forge Bane kit, and they were going through it, and the heads that were supplied for the Armigers were not the heads that were on the instructions, which suggests that they will be coming to a separate box, which we kind of assumed anyway, but it does lend a little bit of plausibility to the idea that there will be different variants of that particular knight. So, along with the Armiger, there's the Helliger, or Helliger. Someone told me which way I was pronouncing it was the right way, and I can't remember which one it was. I apologise if I'm getting it wrong. Whatever, it's fine. Also, the Valiant, which is something that's cropped up a couple of times, which it's kind of being suggested that this thing is a taller Imperial Knight with like an energy spear and a shield or some sort of energy weapon. That is the bit I'm having trouble with. Also, that there would be a separate launch for a Renegade Imperial Knight or Imperial Knight Renegade, the box, even someone did say an entire codex, which seems unlikely to me, an entire codex for that. So, in terms of these rumours that are floating around, there's a couple that I think are absolutely, pretty much guaranteed. I don't think the Armiger is going to be the only variant. I think the Helliger, or Helliger, is going to be a variant of the Armiger. I mean, it's the Armiger Warglaive, so I can easily see there being a Helliger Warglaive as well. And that to me seems reasonable, especially since we have the current standard for Imperial Knights, whereby there is one kit, but like 5 variants, I want to say, off the top of my head. So that doesn't seem completely unreasonable. In fact, I would kind of expect there to be more variants of the smaller knight. I'd expect to see something that's like close combat focused only, something that's short range only, and I don't know, maybe something that has more of a defensive role would kind of make sense to me, but I think it's reasonable. I think that's completely reasonable. The Castellan, obviously, we know is coming. I would be surprised if that was the only variant of the Castellan. I would be more inclined to think that there are at least 2 variants of that, again, because we have the current standard of, you know, the current kit building 5 different variants, and if you're going to introduce a new kit, right now anyway, Games Workshop does not really do single-use kits anymore. There aren't, well, I say that, that's not fair. For larger kits, at least, there seems to be a trend towards making them multi-use, and especially when you look at things like the Custodes, pretty much every single kit there is in some way multi-use. I mean, obviously the Terminator box only makes Terminators, but you can make a Terminator Captain, you can make a Terminator, not an Alaris, Standard Bearer, Acquiesce, whatever it's called. You know, they all have something else in there in some capacity. So the Castellan, I would kind of expect to see another variant of that. Those seem reasonable to me. It's the Valiant that I don't really buy right now, and the idea that there would be some sort of separate codex or some sort of separate Renegade Imperial Knight release. And there's a fairly simple reason for both of those, which is that Forge World exists and already makes both of those things. So the Valiant, which is being rumoured as being a taller knight with some sort of spear or energy weapon, and I have seen shield being mentioned here and there, that already exists. That's already a thing. You can already buy that from Forge World for £170, I believe. It strikes me as being unlikely that Games Workshop would directly compete with Forge World by bringing something like that into the lineup. Now, I realise that in a way they have done that before. I mean, the 30k stuff, the Warhammer for 30,000 Horus Heresy series stuff, that was only Forge World for a long time, and Games Workshop did move into that space by creating plastic kits. But to me, those plastic kits were always designed as a gateway drug into the Horus Heresy as a whole. You sell plastic Marines, you sell plastic Terminators, that can be used for Warhammer 40k as well. And then you say, hey, if you go to Forge World, you can buy all these badass vehicles that don't see a lot of use, or in the case of things like the jet bikes, plain aren't usable in Warhammer 40,000. You kind of draw people in by presenting them with these multi-use models that can be used for both systems, and then say, and if you want more, go to Forge World. I don't know how a direct competition knight would fulfill that role. I would like to see another knight variant in terms of something a bit more like the Forge World stuff, in plastic, and cheaper, please, for the love of God, cheaper. But it is a direct competition thing, and I don't think it feeds people to Forge World. I think it would just provide people with the means to create all-night armies without having to go to Forge World at all. Whether it's a case of that is business they're willing to use, maybe whether it's a case of Forge World, whilst it does okay on Knights, doesn't do well enough to restrict Games Workshop's kind of desire to make plastic Knights of a similar type. I don't know. It's impossible to tell without seeing numbers. it's one of those things where I would like it to be true, but I don't know whether it really makes that much sense in the context of what the knights are, what they do, and the way that Games Workshop currently has them set up. You know, at the moment, the normal knights, I keep trying to glance over at mine, the normal knights are the kind of gateway drug to the Forge World knights, to me. You know, you've got 2 or 3 of the, it's the Questor chassis knights, and was it Questoris? One of the 2. You've got that chassis available from Games Workshop. Then there's a slightly more expensive one from Forge World, which is very Mars themed. And then when you look at Forge World, you're like, oh well, there's also these nice tall ones. Oh, I think it works. I think it works. It might not, and that could be actually something we do see. I don't know. I'm struggling to see why they do that. Although, as I said, we do have 30k stuff now available in plastic, so it could be part of just maybe they just prepared to have that crossover and risk losing that bit of extra that they might get from Forge World for that stuff, just to get more people playing that faction, because it's an expensive faction, because your bread and butter models are like £100 each, so it could be worth the trade-off. And as far as like Renegade Knight stuff, I don't think we'll ever see a Renegade Knight Codex. I think there might be some sort of thing in there where it's like you can use the Renegade keyword or maybe the Chaos keyword or something for the purpose of deciding detachments. That would actually be really good. That'd be really helpful. I can't remember whether there's anything like that in place right now or not, because I haven't used my knight for ages and ages and ages. But that would make sense to me, because I don't think knights are really in that same position as Chaos Space Marines. They're not as distinctive in terms of their separation, I don't think. And again, there's already a Chaos Knight conversion that you can get from Forge World itself, so are we likely to see a full Renegade Knight release? Probably not. Could they bring back the box where you had the Imperial Knight and the Renegade Knight facing off? I could see them doing that for the launch of Imperial Knights. I could easily see them doing that, because that box was incredibly good value for money, ridiculously good. And it would shift quite a lot of units, and it would tie in well with the release of the Codex itself. Some of this stuff, yeah, I can see it. The Castellan, additional variants of the Armiger, the Armiger, Helliger, the Warglaive stuff, I can easily see that. Valiant, I'm really not sold on, because it just infringes too heavily on what Forge World does, and Renegade Knight stuff, I just don't think Games Workshop really care that much about that side of things, and keyword stuff would probably suffice. I'm kind of hoping the Codex is good. I think this is the sort of thing that Knights actually need. The addition of the smaller Knight I really liked, because it broke up the very samey silhouette of an all Games Workshop Knight army. It adds a little bit extra to the Force itself, both in terms of flavour and functionality, although it does seem very overcosted for what it actually is, which is a pity. But then again, Codex is on the way, so that could well change. I really hope for multiple variants of the Castellan, or at least lots of different weapon options. That would be excellent. Well, I can't see them restricting it that heavily. I think it will probably be a nice, kind of pretty customisable model, which would be good. I've got high hopes for it. It's one of those things where I've always wanted to expand my Imperial Knights, just because I enjoy the kit so much. So having more and more options is never a bad thing. It is yet another Imperial release, but there's still a bit of how do I put this? Lack of attention towards some of the Xenos races. Orcs, I'm there with you, I feel your pain. But on the upside, more stuff to convert, more stuff to make all orky and shit. It's not really much of a consolation, is it? At least there's new expensive stuff for you to buy and turn into something orcish, because you're not getting any shit yourself. But I'm trying to find the silver lining. What do you reckon? That's the question. Are we going to see multiple Castellan variants? Are we going to see a Valiant, which is like a tall, big knight with some sort of energy lance or spear or something like that? Or do you think that's not really very likely? Do you think we're even going to see any sort of keyword messing around with for the creation of Renegade Imperial Knights? Or do you think there might be a chance of some sort of fully fledged standalone thing for Renegade Knights themselves? Let me know what you think in the comments. As always, there's stuff to click, there's videos, Patreon, subscribe, all of that shit. Click it if you like, don't click it if you don't want to, and I will see you for the next one. Toodaloo.